Merry Christmas. Good morning. We ask that you would please stand. Leading the invocation will be Father Nathan Carr, the pastor, the father of St. James Episcopal Church, and I'm going to ask Councilwoman Salyer to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Most gracious God, we humbly beseech Thee as for the people of this great city of Oklahoma City, so especially for this mayor's office, these city wardens here assembled, that Thou wouldst be pleased to direct and prosper all of their consultations to the advancement of Thy glory, the good of people of faith in Thy church, and the safety, honor, and welfare of all of Thy people, that all things may be so ordered and settled by their endeavors upon the best and the surest foundations, that peace and happiness, truth and justice may be established among us for all generations. And this we pray this Christmas tide for the sake of Christ. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Every 8 seconds of a school day, an American student gives up his or her dreams and drops out of school. From that moment, life choices become limited and chances for success is small. We are blessed to have teachers in our great city who are willing to sacrifice to teach young people to be better citizens and teach them what they need to succeed. We are blessed today to honor our Teacher of the Month, which comes from Putnam City Schools. This honor is in partnership with the Rotary Club of Oklahoma City. At this time, we ask that Carla Young please come up. Let's give her a round of applause. We have a resolution from our great city. Madam Clerk, will you please read the resolution?
Whereas Carla Young has been named Teacher of the Month for December 2016 by the Putnam City Schools Foundation and Rotary Club of Oklahoma City. Whereas Carla began her career in 2004 at Putnam City West High School, where she teaches chemistry and AP chemistry. Whereas Carla received her Bachelor of Science in 2003 and Master of Education in 2011 from the University of Central Oklahoma, and a Master of Arts in Educational Leadership from Southern Nazarene University in 2010. Carla was previously selected as the Salome Masonic Lodge Teacher of Today in 2014, the Putnam City West Teacher of the Year for 2015 to 16, and the Putnam City District Teacher of the Year for 2015 to 16. Whereas Carla has been active throughout her career in many aspects of the education field, including serving as science department chair, mentoring new teachers and student teachers, working to evaluate and improve the science curriculum, and collaborating with other teachers to establish and share best teaching practices. Whereas Carla is married to Ryan Young and they have 3 children, Kelly, Kenzie, and Kason. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the City of Oklahoma City that they do hereby recognize and commend Carla Young on her selection as December 2016 Teacher of the Month by Putnam City Schools Foundation and the Rotary Club of Oklahoma City.
Can you please tell us who do you have with you?
The superintendent of our schools, Fred Rhodes, and our president of our Putnam City Foundation, Jennifer Seal.
Right. This does require action from our city council. Can I get a motion?
Move for approval.
And it has been seconded. And it passes. Thank you again.
Thank you.
One of the reasons why Oklahoma City is truly a big league city and is the best city not only in the state of Oklahoma, but also in our great country is because we have great employees. And we are honored today to be able to honor our Employee of the Month. And our Employee of the Month comes from the Parks Department, Clarissa Watkins. Will you please join me? And we have a resolution from the City Council and the Mayor. Madam Clerk, would you please read?
Whereas Clarissa Watkins has been a city employee for 2 years and is a recreation leader for the Parks and Recreation Department. Whereas Clarissa monitors spectators, participants' activities, and conditions in and around the Southern Oaks Community Center to ensure orderly conduct. Whereas Clarissa continuously steps up and takes charge during difficult situations, working tirelessly to ensure the success of recreation programs. Whereas Clarissa has not only been instrumental to the success of the spring break camp, but she also supervised the Southern Oaks Community Center while her supervisor was out on military duty. Clarissa helps set the tone for a successful center every day and is a valuable community liaison for South Oklahoma City. Whereas Clarissa is a positive, upbeat, and passionate employee who strives for perfection while remaining flexible to the challenges that arise. Whereas Clarissa is an excellent example of the ideal Parks and Recreation employee and has been a great role model for her peers. Whereas this council desires to recognize Clarissa Watkins for her dedication, professionalism, and commitment to the residents of the City of Oklahoma City. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the City of Oklahoma City that they do hereby thank and commend Clarissa Watkins, December 2016 South Oklahoma City Kiwanis Club Employee of the Month.
Who do you have with you?
My boss, community center supervisor, Michael Bulgren.
All right, this item does require a vote of the council. Can I get a motion?
Move approval.
Madam Clerk. All right, and it passes. With this being the holiday season, we do have a special presentation from our arts community. Mike, will you please join me?
If I could ask the others to come up and join me. And why don't y'all just stand up here and face out that way. So in 2013, we started a program launching official Oklahoma City Christmas ornament. And one of the reasons we did that was because of funding we'd lost to do the annual Christmas parade. And so the picture that you see now is the first ornament that we did, which was the MAPS ornament. And so since then, of course, we've had 3 other ornaments. But this year, we were looking for what we thought was the perfect subject. That's okay. You can go ahead and go to it. we thought we'd find what was the perfect subject for our ornament this year, so we did choose the 50th anniversary of the Festival of the Arts. Now, yes, we can applaud. And with me today, the reason why we're doing the unveiling this way is because this picture was actually taken with an iPhone. So to blow it up in a regular picture, you wouldn't be able to see what it was. But actually, Betsy Brunstetter, a past co-chair of the Arts Festival, took this from the corner of the Art Museum, and we looked at a lot of pictures, but we just felt like this really captured the feeling of the festival and the fact that it has a civic center in the background. We just thought it was the perfect picture for the ornament. So if we'll go to the next one. So this is what the ornament looks like. It is going to be available. Santa's elves are still working on it, but it's going to be available the week of Christmas at Full Circle Bookstore and at the gift shop at the Oklahoma City Museum of Art. You can also order these ornaments online at okcornaments.com, so that's pretty easy to remember. And now we'll go to the back of the ornament. And again, we like to recognize those involved with the ornament. So yes, Betsy, you get on the ornament. And we really have a special thanks to St. Anthony's this year. We haven't had an ornament sponsor in the past, and St. Anthony stepped up, a great community partner, represented today by Sandra Payne from the marketing department at St. Anthony's. And so we thank Sandra, St. Anthony's, Joe Hodges, everybody over there at St. Anthony's for supporting this effort. Of course, also with us is Peter DeLisi from the Arts Council and his some of his staff members in the back. And Peter, you're sharing with me that you all are receiving a Governor's Award for the 50th anniversary, right, this week. So we can give them a hand, too. I'm just making sure I'm not missing anything here. So again, these proceeds go to help support the Christmas parade. The good news and bad news about the Christmas parade this year is because of the loss of sponsorships, we are rescheduling the Christmas parade for next year in 2017, Sunday. So with this ornament program, we hope to help raise the funds. Of course, the city has had budget issues, so they were not able to do their sponsorship, which they've done since 2004. And of course, we appreciate the support we receive from the city to put on the Christmas parade. And then also another major sponsor, because of the economy, had to withdraw their sponsorship. But we promised to bring it back. And Councilman White, I'm glad you're here, because we have something for you, because we want to be one of the first to give you something for your farewell tour. We hate that you're leaving the council, but here's a set of the ornaments. I owe you the new one, though, so we'll get you the new one. But we want to thank you for all you've done. Councilman White. You've supported Major's events. You've supported the arts. You've done so much for this city and community. We've been friends a long time. We're going to miss you. But with that, please buy your ornaments, and thank you, everyone. Thank you, Vice Mayor and Council.
We do have one more presentation. That presentation will be given by Downtown Oklahoma City. Would you all please come up and tell us about the great things that are happening in downtown Oklahoma City for the month of December?
Hi, good morning. I'm Jill Delozier with Downtown Oklahoma City.
I'm Stacy Singer, also with Downtown Oklahoma City.
So most of you are probably familiar with Downtown in December activities that happen all around the holiday time. This year is special because it's the 15th anniversary of Downtown in December. So more events than ever are happening in the downtown area and beyond. And so we're just going to run through quickly some of the highlights for you.
You will likely recognize some of these events. We have 24 returning events from last year and then 10 brand new events to downtown in December this year. So the Devon Ice Rink is returning for its 6th year in the Myriad Gardens. It is open 7 days a week, including holidays, and will remain open through January 29th. But if you're looking more than just ice skating, every Friday night there is a live DJ on site during the month of December. And so that's from 6 to 9 p.m. for the Rock and Skate. And then also returning is Devon Saturdays with Santa. And it's similar to last year in that after guests register to meet Santa, there are tons of crafts, activities, performances, live music, and other characters that you can take pictures with while you wait. And then this year, we are barricading Sheridan Avenue, so food trucks are out there for food and refreshments also. Just don't forget to bring your camera, because that is the only way you can take photos with Santa this year. They're not printed on site.
The Sandridge Santa Run is coming back this year. It has a little bit of a different route, and you'll hear about that here in just a little bit. But it is starting at Sandridge's offices there on Robert S. Kerr and in the Sandridge Commons. It's a 5K race, and it's this Saturday, and it starts at 8:45. And you can register now online, or you can register on the day of the event. Free holiday water taxi rides is also a really popular event that happens in Bricktown on the canal. These are completely free and open to the public every Thursday through Sunday night from 6 to 9 p.m. And you just meet at the regular water taxi loading dock there, just right below Mickey Mantle's restaurant.
There are at least 4 different light displays downtown this year, in addition to the holiday decor you've probably already seen at Devon and the Myriad Gardens. Automobile Alley, Bricktown, Film Row, and Midtown each have their own unique displays this year, including the light curtains that come back every year in Automobile Alley, which are so stunning, and the canal lights in Bricktown, which now also has a beautiful pergola and seating area on the canal overlook. It's probably the best views of the canal in Bricktown. Also, the Dodgers are bringing back their impressive 120-foot slope this year. It's called Life Share Winterfest. The sessions are the same. They're 90 minutes long, and you're welcome to ride as much as you'd like during those 90 minutes. And in addition to the slide, there will be other characters roaming about, children's train, holiday lighting, and other decor.
The winter shops at Myriad Gardens are back. They have 20 vendors this year. It's every Thursday through Sunday, so they'll be coming back here in a couple of days. And so December 8th through 11th and 15th through 18th, they're open 11 to 6 every day. Lyrics, A Christmas Carol, is part of Downtown in December this year, even though it's just a little bit outside of downtown. And I went and saw the performance myself and brought my daughter, and it was just stunning. They have new costumes, new sets this year, and so I highly recommend going to check that out.
The holiday pop-up shops, those geodesic domes in Midtown, is another returning shopping destination downtown this year. This shopping village is open every weekend through December 22nd, and the shops change weekly, and the stores rotate weekly also, so definitely reason to come back every single week. The Myriad Gardens also have a number of additional activities on top of the ice rink, Saturdays with Santa, the winter shops, and carousel. A few of these are listed here. There's free admission Sundays, yoga Tuesdays, reading Wednesdays, but there are a ton more, and you can find all of those events on our website at downtowninDecember.com, including a living wreath class this year and learning to curl on the ice rink.
Here is just a short list of some of the other Downtown in December events that are happening, and like Stacy said, everything is listed on downtowninDecember.com, including links to purchase tickets and all of the hours of operation for everything that's happening. There it is, and let us know if you have any questions, and feel free to call our office.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We have a few appointments. Can I get a motion, please? The motion passes. The next item is Journal of Council Proceedings. The item passes. Next will be item 5, request for uncontested continuance.
Mr. Vice Mayor, outside of item 9C, which is the Mustang de-annexation item, which was going to be deferred until January 17th, I have a few others starting on page 17 under item 9F1 on page 17. D, 4420 West I-40 Service Road, we ask that that be stricken, the owner secured. Moving to page 18, item F, 1129 Linwood Boulevard, we ask that that be stricken, the owner secured. Item H, 4121 North Sterling Avenue, we ask that that be stricken, the owner has secured. Item J, 14 Northwest 7th Street, we ask that that be stricken, the owner has secured. Item M, 617 Northwest 19th Street, we ask that that be stricken, the owner has secured. Item T, 309 Southwest 66th Street, we ask that that be stricken, we need to re-notified. Item U, 2701 Southwest 83rd Street, we ask that that be stricken, the owner has secured. Moving on to item 9G1, item G, 14 Northwest 7th Street, we ask that that be stricken, the owner has secured. And finally, item M, 309 Southwest 66th Street, we ask that that be stricken, we need to re-notify.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager. Moving on to item number 6, revocable permits, 6A, and that is for the Downtown Oklahoma City Incorporated to hold the Santa Ridge Center Run December the 10th, 2016, Robert S. Carr Avenue between Broadway Avenue and North Robertson Avenue. Is anyone from downtown Oklahoma City? I know y'all just gave a presentation. Is there anything that you all would like to add on?
I would move approval.
All right. And the motion passes. We will recess the council meeting, convene as the Oklahoma City Municipal Facilities Authority. And we have 4 items. The motion passes. We will adjourn the OCMFA and convene as the Oklahoma City Public Property Authority. There are 2 items. And that passes. We will adjourn the OCPPA and convene as the Oklahoma City Environmental Assistance Trust, and we do have 2 items. And that motion passes. We will adjourn the OCEAT and convene and reconvene the City Council meeting with item number 7, the consent docket. Are there any individual considerations?
I would, Mr. Vice Mayor, I would like number AP voted on separately.
Your microphone.
And Councilman White, AP?
Yes.
7 AP, all right. Are there any other items? All right, can I get a motion for 7? And again, 7 AP will not be included in that motion. Oh, and excuse me, there are some citizens who wish to speak under 7H6, and the person who has signed up is Angela Flores.
Thank you. I am Angela Flores, and I am here to speak on behalf of Pipkin and Sons Painting LLC. We have been to the Planning Commission and got approved for a SPUD 935. We wish to request to the City Council, when this gets approved, if it would be passed with the emergency. We want to have our employees be able to keep on working At that time of year, work has kind of slowed down, and they'll be the ones installing the fence. We're requiring this fence to be installed to secure the property. We don't want it to remain open totally and have a bunch of debris and trash and vagrants, homeless people, whatever. Establishing their properties and all that on it. So that is one of the reasons we're asking that this be with the emergency so we can go ahead and get the fence put up.
Mrs. Flores had sent me an email about this request, and it was just being introduced today. So, Bob, do you have some comments?
That's correct. This is an introduction, and it'll be heard in a couple of weeks. So we'll meet with her and explain the process to her.
Okay, I think staff communicated with you that there are legal requirements to ask for the emergency. And
Okay.
Mr. Tiener's office will work with you to discuss whether or not this would meet the criteria. So we certainly appreciate that you want to keep your employees working, and we understand that this process takes a long time. But if you'll just meet with Mr. Tiener, he'll be happy to explain what we can do next.
Okay,
Hey, thank you so much for coming down.
thank you.
And thank you. And this item that she was referring to will come back to us on January the 3rd, but it is, again, just being introduced on today. And we have someone here on 7AV1, Jerome Alexander. And will you please come, can you state your name and your address, please?
Yes. Jerome Alexander, 10205 Durham Drive in Oklahoma City. And I'm just here, the city attorney recommended to show up if you guys had any questions. I don't really need to speak. I know it was already approved, the claim, so just if you had questions, that's why I'm here.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for this particular item? No questions. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And we do have a motion and a second.
John, can
Yes, sir.
can I mention something about Q?
Yes.
So if the council remembers, there's a Vietnamese American group that has raised funds to do a memorial in Military Park on 25th and Classen to memorialize the war effort. And this has been for many years, there's been controversy over the design, and they've settled upon one. It's gone through several committees, the Parks Committee, Urban Design, and it's going to come to the council, and the stakeholders will come and they'll present their design. But I didn't want the council to see it for the first time then and then have to vote on it immediately. And there has been some controversy about guns in the statue and the position of them and what it looks like, and I would appreciate the feedback. I mean, I just want to pass it around, and then maybe later, if you guys give me any feedback of your initial impression, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Councilman Shadid. Are there any other considerations? And again, we do have a motion and a second, and the motion does not include 7AP. The motion passes. The item passes. And we will now have a motion for item 7AP. Is there a motion? And there's been a motion and a second. And this item passes. Item number 8, the concurrent docket. Are there any individual considerations? And this item passes. And our next item, number 9, Items requiring separate votes. And the first item that we have is item 9A1, which is in Ward 2. It is ABC 866, ABC 2, alcohol beverage for restaurant with alcohol district overlaying the C3 community commercial district, and this is in Ward 2. Councilman Shadid.
Anybody sign up to speak? I move approval.
All right. Is anyone here to speak on this item? All right. And this motion passes. The next item is 9A2, which is PC 10456, 2426 North Classen Boulevard from NB Neighborhood Business District to HL Historic Landmark District. And this item is also in Ward 2. Councilman Shadid.
Anybody sign up to speak? No, sir. I move for approval.
All right. Is anyone here wishing to speak on this item? All right. And this item is approved. The next item is 9A3, which is PC 10471, 2315 North Pennsylvania Avenue from R1 Single Family Residential Development to O1 Limited Office District. And this item is in Ward 6.
Yep, this is a request to add some parking for future development. There were no protests at the Planning Commission, and staff recommended approval. I would ask for approval.
Second. All right, I see there's a gentleman wishing.
I'm George Marquez with Craft and Toll, representing the applicant. So if anybody has any questions, I'll answer them.
All right. Are there anyone else wishing to speak on this item? This item passes. Our next item is 9A5. Excuse me, let me back up. The next item is 9A4, which is Spud 920, 2415 North Walker. And this item is in Ward 2. Councilman Shadid.
I move for approval. Was anybody signed up to speak? So this is to add a mural, I guess, on the side of a building. Is that so? To do a mural, you change it into a spud, or if you want to add that. Okay. All right. I move for approval. Is that how?
That's correct. They had to include that use unit in the SPD to allow the mural. So that's all they're doing here.
Okay. Thank you. I move for approval.
And the item passes. The next item is 9A5, which is Spud 921, 800 Northwest 150th Street from R1 Single Family Residential Development to Spud 921, which is a simplified plan unit development. And this item is in Ward 7. Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up to speak? The Planning Commission did approve this. Is anyone present wishes to speak on this item? All right. And this item passes. The next item is 9A6, which is Spud 922, 3001 Northeast 23rd Street from R1 Single Family Residential Development to Spud 922 Simplified Plan Unit Development. This item is in Ward 7. Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up to speak? No one has signed up to speak. I see the applicant is present. Do you wish to say something?
No. If there's any question, I'll be willing to take.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else here to speak on this item? Can I get a motion? And this item passes. The next item is 9A7, which is Spud 923, 721 West Britain Road from SPUD 749 Simplified Plan Unit Development and C3 Commercial Community Commercial Development District to SPUD 923 Simplified Plan Unit Development. And this item is in Ward 7. Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up to speak? No one has signed up to speak. Is anyone present wishing to speak on this item? I do understand that this is the future home of the new Variety Care Clinic. Am I correct? I see the applicant is present. Has anyone signed up to speak on this item? Can I get a motion for approval? All right. It has motion and seconded. And this item passes. The next item is...
Mr. Mayor, if I could just say how delighted we are that Variety is moving into this neighborhood. It's going to be a fantastic project. We're really grateful. You know, Variety is doing so much work all around the community, and this is a neighborhood, as you well know, that needs to be served. So thank you all very, very much.
And to add on to Councilwoman's statements, and I'm so grateful for you all to locate that facility right there in a neighborhood that is in desperate need of services, and it is in Ward 7. So with that said, there was a motion and a second, correct? All right. This item passes. The next item is 9A8, which is SPUD 744 Southeast 25th Street from R2 medium low density residential O2 general office and SPUD 435 simplified plan unit district, development district to SPUD 924. And this item is in Ward 7. Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up to speak? No one has signed up to speak. I see that the applicant is present, and I know the applicant did request an emergency, but I do not believe that I do not believe that the emergency will be granted because it does not fit within the guidelines of the emergency. But the applicant, again, did request an emergency, but it did not meet the guidelines in my view. All right, is there anyone wishing to speak on this item? And this item passes. The next item is 9B, which is an ordinance on final hearing. And for those who don't remember, this item deals with the smoke detector. We did have a presentation on this particular item a few council meetings ago. All right. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? And this item passes. The next item, which is a 9C, and this item has been deferred. Next item is 9D.
Good morning, sir. I'm Hailey Rawson from the City Attorney's Office. I'm just here to help introduce this item.
Yes, thank you.
And this item is an ordinance amendment to Chapter 56. The language being added to this section, actually Section 5650, will state which lists the City of Oklahoma City as a certificate holder and is, as it goes on, issued by any insurance carrier. And this ordinance was actually at the request of Traffic Commissioner Hailey in his desire to have the city notified properly of proof of insurance, as well as if insurance was to be canceled, the city to receive notice of that as well.
Now, again, this particular item was brought to us because the Traffic Commission wanted the item. What is, and this item did not come from staff, is that correct?
No. This was a ordinance requested by Traffic Commissioner Hailey and then recommended by Traffic Commission.
all right?
So Hailey, does this covers taxis, limousines, rideshare?
No, it is actually just motor vehicle for hire, so the taxis, limos that you mentioned earlier.
We're preempted by state law to govern ride.
Just wanted to make that clear, because it
Yeah,
seems to me that when I call Uber, I do hire them.
No, the state actually takes care of the permitting of any Uber or Lyft TNC companies in order to make sure that they have proper insurance. And they provide a very similar outline as the certificate holder would receive, meaning that the insurance company provides the state proper proof of insurance on a state form, and then if the insurance was to be canceled, then the insurance company would also provide another form proving that the insurance is either canceled or has been abandoned.
Okay, so they essentially have the same requirement, it's just provided at the state level rather than to us.
Yes, exactly. It's just different forms, but the exact same requirements.
Okay, thank you.
Even with that, the idea that this is something the state government ought to be involved in is just preposterous. I mean, it's just beyond the pale to think that they would have gone to the trouble to make sure that we couldn't regulate something that's a part of our public transportation system. It's not your fault. You don't have to have that look on your face. But it's just another example of a legislature run amok. I mean, what are they thinking out there? I just, I don't only have 4 more months from today to say that, but expect me to say it every time I get a chance. I mean, it is absolutely asinine that they would spend our money, our tax money, when they can't even fund public education, they can't fund their own highway patrol, and they would allocate separate funds to operate a system to measure something that only affects people that live in Oklahoma City or Norman or whatever. I mean, it's just, I'm going to use my 15 minutes of fame here every time I get a chance to talk about it, because it's just preposterous. Is that good enough? Okay.
Well, but remember, when you come back, you will only have 3 minutes to speak. Just joking, just joking. Are there any other comments, concerns on this particular item? All right. And this item passes. The next item is 9E. Is there anyone wishing to speak on item E, public hearing regarding dilapidated structures? And this item passes. The next item is 9F, public hearing regarding unsecured structures. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this particular item? And this particular item passes. The next item is 9G. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on item G1, which is a public hearing regarding abandoned buildings? This item passes. Did we do?
Yes, now we're at I. Yeah, you just did that one. So we've got I.
Okay. The next item is 9I, and we do have a presentation on item 9I. It would be item 9I, J, 1 and 2, and 3. All right. Kathy O'Connell with the Alliance. Oh, wait, well, excuse me. I'm sorry, Kathy. I made an error. I need to do item H, then I. Sorry. Excuse me, H. I need to do item H first. I'm sorry. All right, is there anyone wishing to speak on item H? All right. And this item passes. Now, I'm sorry, come on, Kathy.
Okay, well, good morning, and thank you for being here today and having me be here today to talk to you about some changes to the TIF districts in and around the Oklahoma Health Center that we would like to make some amendments to better address the efforts of the Innovation District. First of all, let's talk a little bit about what's been going on in the area through time and the efforts most recently by the Chamber of Commerce and a group of entities that are very active in the health center to undertake a study to discover what Oklahoma City needed to do to develop an innovation district. And the Chamber of Commerce, along with the Oklahoma City Urban Renewal Authority, OMRF, OU, PHF, have all been working together over the last couple of years with the Brookings Institution and the Project for Public Spaces to look at the area that we describe as the Innovation District to try to figure out how can we better advance high technology companies and entrepreneurship in Oklahoma City. And I want to make certain that we all understand that this is a very intentional economic development strategy that Oklahoma City's really been a part of for over 20 years now. The efforts in the health center were really the first wave of our attempts to grow high technology companies and resources that benefit the whole community. So the Innovation District efforts take that one step further and really focus on the creation of relationships and opportunities for collaboration, connectivity, and clustering that really make those kinds of economic development efforts most successful. So we wanted to see what we could do with the existing tax increment financing districts in the area so that they could be amended and encourage new partnerships and new opportunities for economic development and job creation in Oklahoma City. Some of the characteristics of the area are rather unique as far as when you look at our other TIF districts. First of all, most of the property in the Innovation District area is owned by either governmental entities or private not-for-profit entities that typically don't pay property taxes. In the past, we have entered into agreements with either governmental entities or nonprofits to make payments in lieu of taxes in order to help fund some of the efforts that have gone on in the health center. For example, the Presbyterian Health Research Park that is now the OU Research Park, and Cytovance, both are examples of that. Some of the private not-for-profit investment in the area has been approximately $200 million over the past several years. The public investment is probably about $1 billion, and some of that includes the investments by OU and some of the other governmental institutions in the area. There's virtually no other increment that's generated in the area other than by the HCA hospital complex. So the acquisition of the HCA hospital complex by SSM does create a bit of a challenge for the area as that property will become tax exempt. The area also supported the development of the GE Global Energy Research Center. We did make a TIF allocation to GE. It does pay property taxes, obviously. It's a private for-profit entity. And we did help GE with the development of the parking garages so that they could build a more dense urban development on their site. So some of the key changes are we have proposed to enlarge the project area. And one thing, if you recall about tax increment financing, you have an increment area and you have a project area. And the project area is the area where you can spend the money. And what we have done is we've changed the project area to coincide with the same boundaries that were used for the study with Brookings. So it extends a little bit further to the east than than the TIF boundaries have in the past, a little bit further to the west, and includes some of the property north of 13th Street. We also are proposing to reduce the sizes of increments, TIF districts number 1 and number 7, to establish the immediate creation of a new TIF district 11, and to establish boundaries for future districts M and N. M is currently a part of TIF district number 7, and we'll look at a map in a minute, and you'll see it's basically the area south of 4th Street, and then a new TIF district N, which is the boundaries of the Chaparral Apartments on 13th Street. This slide shows you the budget categories for each of the TIF districts. TIF districts 1 and 7, the budgets do not change, and just as a further piece of information, these 2 TIF districts will expire at their ordinary expiration dates. So TIF number 1 will expire in 2022, and TIF district number 7 will expire in 2032. We're proposing a new TIF district number 11 with a total budget of $52 million. About half of this increment will be generated by GE Global Energy Research over the 25 years of the TIF, and then the rest is from anticipated private development in the area. And then the 2 new TIF districts, M and N, we have budget totals of $7 million for each of those. So relatively modest budget amounts for each of these TIF districts. And the one thing that I really want to point out and make a special note of is in TIF district number 11, there's a category called enhanced education. And those efforts are designed for the innovation district to work collaboratively with institutions involved in education, such as the Oklahoma City Public Schools, Metro Tech, and to work with other entities and the Oklahoma School of Science and Mathematics, and then work with other entities that might be able to help us with efforts to encourage entrepreneurship and small business development like I2E. So that money is really about contracting with those agencies to provide very specific services that promote STEAM education programs, science, technology, education, arts, and mathematics, that promote internships or entrepreneurial development through I2E. We would contract with them for very specific set of services, very specific performance expectations, and use that $18 million to fund those efforts over the 25-year period. So, you know, over 25 years, $18 million may not seem like that much money, but if we don't undertake these changes, we'll actually have none of this available to help us with those efforts.
Kathy, can I ask you a question? I was going to wait till the end, but you just mentioned the things I wanted to ask you about. Sure. So there's $17 million for commercialization of research and technology, and you mentioned I2E, and I'm not sure how familiar you are with the Solexis deal, but that was an $850,000 investment by I2E, developed a drug for sickle cell anemia, passed phase 2 trials, and now is sold for $665 million. Is that, I mean, how can we, would those kind of efforts come out of this money, and would it come out of the 17 million or the 18 million?
Well, I think the 17 million is really seen more as making investments in physical real estate, you know, physical development structures, possibly building a new laboratory space, incubator space, things that might be available for those kinds of companies. The $18 million, I don't know, it would not be used as like a grant to a specific company, but I think it would be used to promote a series of services to support those companies as they make those kinds of investments and develop their new ideas.
So could you have like common lab facilities where you have economies of scale?
Yes,
to help
absolutely.
These startups?
Yeah. And, you know, I think that's part of it. Some of the other elements of the plan are placemaking. You know, there are really very few amenities in the health center area. There aren't places for people to gather. There's very few restaurants, there's very little housing, and not that those things would be funded from the commercialization of research and technology portion, but they could be funded from some of the other categories in the budget. And so this commercialization category really focuses on, like you said, maybe shared lab space or something like that.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a map of the current, the two current TIF districts, TIF 1 and TIF 7. And this is the area that is to be carved out. The purple area will remain a part of TIF 1, and the pink will remain TIF 7. And so this is what the new map will look like. We will have a new TIF district number 11 that includes the areas that are carved out from TIF 1 and TIF 7, and then future TIF districts M and N that would be triggered by the City Council at some point in the future as development appears to be imminent in those areas. And again, this feature in the state statute is limited in that we have to start the clock on those districts within 10 years of the adoption of the amendments to the project plan.
On TIF 1, this little island in the south that's carved out, why is that carved out and why is it separate?
It's really just kind of, it's where, isn't that where OIPA is? And we don't, I mean, it's probably developed as much as it's going to, so we left it into TIF 1.
Kathy, I'm sorry, N is just the boundaries around that apartment complex there on
Right.
13th Street.
Yes, yeah, that is basically the property that's included in that apartment complex. There are a couple of other parcels that may be privately owned by other parties, but. On November 10th, we presented this information to the Planning Commission. On November 22nd, we had a TIF review committee meeting. This TIF review committee had been created several years ago when each of these two TIF districts were originally approved, or the process had originally begun. One of the items on your agenda today kind of ratifies the addition of at-large members to those two TIF review committees, because that is a change in state statute that took place, after those TIF districts were originally created. The TIF review committee met on November 22nd. They did unanimously approve the changes and the creation of TIF number 11 and M and N, and got very, very good comments and reactions from the TIF review committee. They did make the findings about eligibility and financial impact, and one of the things to point out about the financial impacts created by this TIF district is that most of them would really accrue to the community as a whole because of the job creation component. This TIF district is much more focused on job creation, much like the one that we created for Dell Computer several years ago. So the benefits, the financial benefits created by the TIF district really accrue outside of the TIF district, where those people live and shop and go to school. On December 8th, the Planning Commission will have their final consideration of the changes to the TIF and the creation of TIF number 11. Their role is to consider whether or not the TIFs conform with the Oklahoma City Plan. And then on December 20th, we will be back to you for the final public hearing and the adoption of the ordinance by City Council. So I'll be glad to answer any questions. And we have several people here in the audience that worked very hard, either with the Brookings Institution, with the funders group. Dr. Prescott is here, Mike Joseph, Dan Batchelor. We've all been, and some of our community members are here as well. Thank you for coming. And
our friends from St. Anthony. We've got Kersey and.
Okay, yeah. I didn't turn around. We've all been, it's very much been a collaborative team effort so far, and I think really lays the groundwork for the future work of the Innovation District being very collaborative moving forward.
One of the things that I saw in the report that kind of jumps out at me is that the this economic development strategy that you're talking about. It says, this Oklahoma City economic development strategy has changed flatline property valuation in our school district, Metro Tech, to an average annual 5% growth rate. What's the history behind that? What's our current growth rate, and what's our expected growth rate in the future, if any?
Well, I mean, I think when you look at what was happening in the Oklahoma City Public School District, for example, before we created TIF districts, the growth was about 1.5% a year. Following the creation of the TIF districts, that growth rate has grown to about 5% a year. Now, not all of that is attributable to TIF. The city's undertaken a broad spectrum of economic development activities that have helped property value growth throughout the community. And some of those are the MAPS programs, general obligation bond projects, all of those things, MAPS for kids, all of those things work together as a combined economic development strategy along with tax increment financing. But what we have seen is that the growth rate for the area that is covered by the Oklahoma City Public Schools has been growing at about 5% a year, whereas the rest of the city grows at about 3.3%. So, really a great benefit to the whole Oklahoma City Public School District, not, obviously impacting their ability to provide, helping their ability to provide services to their students. As far as future growth rate, we certainly hope that those statistics continue, but don't really have a crystal ball about what'll happen in the future.
Thanks.
Kathy, I'd just like to make a comment that I think it's very important to the future of Oklahoma City that we support this innovation district. Cities are becoming more competitive day by day. We're seeing significant grants coming from various organizations, most recently like Bloomberg's philanthropies are donating large sums of monies to help certain cities become what they refer to as cities that work. Cities are investing a large amount of money in technology to make them more competitive, more livable, and I think this innovation district will go a long way in helping us to stay competitive.
There's a tremendous amount of community effort underway with this. 4 standing committees that are working on everything from placemaking to governance to really create an amazing synergy, not just in the district, but community-wide, really reaching out of borders.
I just echo those comments. I think this is the key to diversifying Oklahoma City's economy. I don't think the oil and gas industry will be robust in 10 years and certainly not in 20 years. Biotech is not going anywhere. It'll only get more and more robust. And I think this is the smartest investment we can make is in biotech. One, I'm trying to remember, you told me the Brookings Institution study wasn't imminent. The results would be how far out?
I think we'll see them late spring, early summer.
So not in time to maybe guide any thinking on the GEO bond. I mean, it wouldn't be, I guess the question would be, is there anything on the radar, is there any way that the GEO bond could be symbiotic with these efforts to help propel the?
Well, I mean, for example, through the placemaking committee, we have identified some streetscape, walkability, bikeability improvements that might be good to look at for whether or not those could be included in the GEO bond program. And then I think, as we move forward with the GEO bond proposals and, what the council might want to do with the general obligation limited tax portion of that some of that could be used for entrepreneurship and job creation, small business development, diversification of our economy.
So are we discussing that at the GEO bond workshop next week? And is the vote next week? It's on the 20th?
The vote is on the 20th.
Okay, and you have 7, I mean,
we need 7 affirmative votes to adopt this ordinance.
With the emergency, correct?
Yes, we need it with the emergency, so.
And how many counselors won't be here?
One, I believe.
You were the only one that I know of.
All right.
Just
making sure.
I've been counting.
Dr. Shadid, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Might be a good thing this time.
So I'll take this chance to move this forward.
All right. And at that motion, we're going to have to do a series of motions. Thank you, Kathy, for the presentation. Has anyone signed up to speak on this item? So we will do the first motion deals with item 9I. All right. And it passes. I need a motion for 9J. Can I do it 1, 2, and 3 all together, or I have to do it separate?
One's just a public hearing, so do 2 and then 3.
All right. So item number 9J, 2, and 3. Can I get a motion? And the motion passes. The next item is K 1 and 2, which is a resolution to adopt the amended. Mr. Manager.
Yeah, Mr. Vice Mayor, Doug Dollar was here 2 weeks ago as we introduced this budget amendment. This is a mid-year budget amendment of cuts of 1.25%, and we presented those cuts to you 2 weeks ago in response to the downturning financial situation that we have, or maybe hopefully it's leveled out and it's not downturning anymore. But we did receive the December sales tax check on Friday. It was not particularly positive. We are about 4% down on sales tax collections below last year for the 6 months year to date on it. We think this is a measured response to that downturn in the sales tax dollars. There are cutbacks that will, affect departments, but we think we've done a pretty good job of minimizing those cutbacks, and we'll be able to hopefully provide our services to our citizens with minimal noticeable disruption. Craig Freeman and Doug Dollar are here to answer any questions you might have, and we think this is a necessary move at this time.
Can I ask you a question, Jim? Because I understand that Cyber Monday set a new record. The number of online sales is setting a record. I hope that the citizens of Oklahoma City can make that connection between the loss of city services and how much everyone is shopping online and how that affects Oklahoma City more than cities in other states, because this is the only state that cities can't rely on property tax and income tax for services. So I hope the citizens really understand that connection, that if you're upset about the streets, if you're upset about the potholes, if you're upset about the number of police officers and services, I hope that you're shopping at local Oklahoma City businesses and not shopping online. Or, I did want to ask you a question about that, because it is possible for people to shop at certain institutions online and still pay sales tax, right?
Yes.
If they have a store in Oklahoma City, like a Walgreens, you could shop at the Walgreens store online and you'd still pay your sales
Walgreens
tax.
has nexus to Oklahoma, so if you're shopping at any Walgreens, that would be, any place that has a physical presence in Oklahoma, they automatically have the sales tax added to it.
So the ideal would be to spend your dollars in Oklahoma City local retail. But if you did have to shop online, shop at a place that has a store in Oklahoma City so that the sales, so that we can at least get services.
Well, and I want to take that a step further. You're exactly right, Councilman. What you said, we can't say enough.
Right.
But I want to take it a step further, because even if you buy online and you don't pay sales tax, you still owe the sales tax. Just because you're not charged that sales tax does not relieve you of the obligation to do it. And you need to pay that on your state income tax every year under a use tax line.
Right.
And so just because, if you want to take it far enough, if you're not paying, I mean, this is taking a little bit far.
Right.
But if you're not paying sales tax on items you purchase on the internet, you're really committing tax fraud.
Right, right.
And it's very easy to do. There is a schedule that's attached to your tax prep book that really, based on your income, David, isn't that correct?
Yeah, it's not that easy.
Yeah, it's easy.
That easy.
It's
Can we made me an accountant?
Put me out of a job.
You need to call your accountant to make sure you know how to do it, but you really can look at the schedule, and based on your income, it will estimate for you a number. You can keep track of it, obviously, yourself, but there's a formulatic way to do it, which is pretty straightforward.
But there's no doubt that that internet sales have had a significant impact on our sales tax revenues.
Jim, you started a program here at the city that I think is really fun, if you want to share with people that are watching.
Sure. We started a little program where if our employees turn in receipts for items that they purchased in Oklahoma City into different distribution points, there will be a drawing for a cash card back to them to try to encourage people and to try to promote the fact that they need to be spending their dollars in Oklahoma City, because most of our employees, with the exception of a few enterprise funds, most of our employees are funded through sales tax dollars.
Jim and Pete, with respect to the Legislative Affairs Committee, I haven't really thought about this or researched this at all, but it's a fine line between use tax and sales tax. Use tax is the responsibility of the purchaser. Sales tax is the responsibility of the vendor. Now, I know if we promoted this and the state were to adopt it, critics would say, oh, you're hurting yourself. But I don't understand why the state couldn't enforce a provision that says, if you want to sell in the state of Oklahoma, we're not going to charge you sales tax because that's been decided at the Supreme Court. But if you want to do business with our residents, we're going to require you to withhold use tax.
I don't think we can do that.
It's probably the same thing. We could certainly look into it and see if that's possible.
Just see if you can. Now, would the state be willing to do something like that? I'll leave that to Pete.
Yeah, the use tax is what's paid by the user,
right,
who buys something that's not subject to the sales tax. So essentially, it just substitutes for the sales tax. Whether or not you could force the vendor to essentially collect the use tax, I think it probably is going to amount to the same thing. They could say that the vendor doesn't have a sufficient nexus to the city or state.
No, I understand that, Kenny, I do, and I'm not trying to make this into a tax course. It's a very fine line, but I think we could at least make an argument that the state needs to look into that to see. Let's still call it a use tax, and it's kind of substance over form. Let them continue to call it a use tax, but if those retailers want to do business with residents of the state of Oklahoma, they'll need to start collecting use tax on the state's behalf. Now, many of the large retailers have already came out in support of this concept. Amazon, Walmart, all the big ones have said, yeah, we'll do this. We've got the ability. It's just, I think, uneducated individuals who have concerns about this that are preventing it from going forward.
We'll look into that and get back with you.
Mayor, one of the things that I've thought about that we should look into is that the state, of course, they've cut all their employees, but the state could look at auditing Oklahoma tax returns. We know, and they have no input, they have no motivation to do that. But the fact is, everybody that you talk to that brags about they bought something online, they saved the sales tax, implicit in that conversation is they're not adding it on where they're supposed to on their state income tax return. I wonder if maybe we couldn't at least use our bully pulpit to talk to the state and maybe put it out as part of our legislative program that we would encourage the state to audit those tax returns.
They do have a benefit, an incentive to do it because of
they get a portion of it. They get
4.5%. We get 3.875.
Well, that's true.
Sales tax. So the state does have a direct benefit.
You know that because I never talk to somebody that doesn't say, "Oh, I bought this TV and I got free shipping and I saved the tax." They're not going to put it on their tax return. I mean, why would they be telling me that if they're going to put it on their tax return?
Pete, the argument, I think you're right. I think we should at least raise the issue. But the state will come back and say, well, you know what, it's not efficient because it's going to cost us in terms of wages for that auditor to go out and select certain returns, and they may get $50, $70, per average individual as far as the liability per year. It would cost them more than what they could recover. But what I think it does, Pete, is let's say you had 10 individuals assigned to that, and the word gets out, and let's say they can audit 10 returns a day. You're getting a pretty good number throughout the year, and hopefully those conversations will change in tone to, what, I bought this and didn't have to pay sales tax, to, what, I didn't, and now I've been audited, and not only did I have to pay the sales tax, but there's some interest and penalty associated with it.
In another lifetime, I worked for the Internal Revenue, and there was no way at that time that the IRS ever figured out they could audit enough people to make that fact. But the idea that you might get audited, right. And that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
That somehow or other, it's illegal to do that. I mean, it's immoral to have the law the way it is. It seems to me certainly it's unfair to states like Oklahoma, but it's still illegal to not put it on your tax return. And if we could encourage the state or to somehow look at it, that might, maybe I could not say something bad about the legislature for one council meeting.
And I would support that, yeah, because, and you know what, Pete, what's preventing some of our federal representatives from pushing this forward is that very fact. They'll say, well, the state has the ability to put forth some greater effort to try to collect this. They've shown no interest, so why should we support them at a national level to get this pushed through on a national basis? So I think it kind of needs all of us working together to accomplish this. Instead of the state saying, well, we can't afford it, we're pointing the fingers at the state, the federal government saying, well, you guys aren't doing anything to try to, address the matter internally. So good points. I think we can all work together.
Just to put another perspective on this, remember that the National League of Cities is very strongly advocating with the federal government a marketplace fairness proposal or series of proposals that will extend the rights of the collection of this tax. And it has gone basically in a circle for a number of years, and it continues to circle because it gets involved in a debate. Do you charge the sales tax at the destination of the product or at the origination of the sale? And so it's under consideration, and when it'll come up again with the new administration is anybody's guess. But it is on the radar screen.
There was talk of it in the lame duck session, but it will not be at this point.
And where are we on thoughts about a gas tax? I mean, I know we've formed a committee that's going to ask the legislature to study revenue, so I guess maybe we'll ask them about that. But do we have an opinion on, could the city do a gas tax, Kenny, if we?
I think the answer is yes, vote of the people.
Yeah, and you can.
This
be very complicated, but yeah, you could do it. You could do one.
You believe the city of Oklahoma City could do its own gas tax?
Right now, yes.
And it would just require a vote of the people?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
You said just to vote of the people. I think that's what I heard you say, just to vote of the people.
Okay.
Mayor, just one thing briefly. In looking at this, the budget amendment this weekend, and each department taking a heavy hit, and I just want to thank Jim Couch and his staff. A lot of people spent a lot of hours on this. Craig and Doug, I want to thank you. This was not easy, and I appreciate everyone that was involved with this and took part in it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments in relating to K2? Can I get a motion? All right. Is anyone here to speak on this item? The motion and this item passes. The next item is 9L. I understand we do not need a executive session. Can I get a motion? Anyone here is wishing to speak on this item? Item passes. The next item is 9M, and I understand we do not need an executive session, so can I get a motion? Anyone wishing to speak on this item? Item passes. The next item, I do understand that we need a executive session, and this item is 9N.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. This item moves into executive session. The next item is 9O, and I understand we do need to have this item in executive session.
Yes.
All right. Item moves into executive session. Item 9P, I'm going to hold that item until we come back from executive session. Next is item 10, items from council. Councilman Griner. Dr. Shadid.
I just want to encourage those who are watching, who are so inclined. I've just been struck by the number of people from the greater Oklahoma City area and Oklahoma who've made the trip to South Dakota to the Standing Rock protests. I think that is a historic event. I want to encourage everyone who can make that trip over the holidays here in December to try and make it, because it's historic. It is the largest concentration of Native Americans in a century. There's 500 indigenous nations represented there. It's the first time in 150 years that the 7 divisions of the Sioux tribe have come together. And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of non-natives who are converging on this site in solidarity with the native peoples. There's a rapid exchange of information of those who want to try and move society towards a post-fossil fuel economy, those who want to resist the metastasis of the oil and gas industry, trying to get as much pipeline infrastructure in as many places as possible so that all of our pensions and university and church investments and government investments, so that we're all invested in this for years and decades, long after they can no longer compete in a free market economy against renewables, which can provide energy with less environmental degradation and a cheaper cost. They will not be able to compete in the years to come. I think they know that, and they want to metastasize through the system to get us all ingrained. But there's a great exchange of information going on there in North Dakota, and a lot of people from Oklahoma City are making that trip. You don't want to make it lightly, that now the temperature is very, very cold, and so you have to prepare, but collect resources. There are religious leaders that went last weekend. I went over Thanksgiving, there were 10,000 people. I heard from religious leaders this weekend it has swollen to 20,000 people. It is very much a movement, and it's a good exchange of information with rapid learning of how to resist this metastasis. I think that if you don't want to go there, you can go to Big Bend in just west of San Antonio, where the same company, Energy Transfer Partners, is building a pipeline using eminent domain to just seize land from ranchers and put a pipeline across Big Bend into Mexico. So if that's too cold, you can go down to Big Bend National Park. But we have our own issue here, which is very similar to some of the issues they're facing in North Dakota. And I think that was when I was there, the conversation among people from Oklahoma City and the people from Oklahoma is that there are a lot of similarities here, is that we're not going to get protection from any government agency in Oklahoma, not from the governor's office, not from the legislature, corporation commission, county, or even this body. We're all subservient to oil and gas. And we have what I believe is like an alcoholic driving the car with us in the back seat. They know that there's risk from putting all this water in these high volume disposal wells. They know that there's risk to all of our lives and our property, but they can't take their foot off the accelerator. They won't stop, study it. And so we have our own resistance that needs to take place here in Oklahoma City and Oklahoma. We have to take control of the wheel, because no government body is going to protect us. And speak along what Pete was talking about, the preemption, The legislature has taken away from this body the ability of the city of Oklahoma City to regulate oil and gas. That only leaves us with protest, with civil disobedience, with that kind of resistance. I would like, and I find it curious that we haven't really discussed earthquakes over the years that I've been on the council. We've talked about, Frank Barnes has given great presentations on tornadoes. We've had 2 presentations on Zika virus, which I appreciate. I asked for them, but that mosquito is not even in Oklahoma City. We've had presentations on Ebola, right? There was a study in 2014 from Cornell University and University of Colorado where they talked about 4 specific high-volume disposal wells in southeastern Oklahoma City, and that those 4 disposal wells were responsible for as much as 25% of the seismicity in central United States. And specifically, they talk about this fault, which I just want to remind everyone that the Nemaha fault runs right through the greater Oklahoma City area, right? And it has some orientation that maybe protects it from failure. But if it were to fail, it could create an earthquake as large as 7.0, which would be catastrophic for the city of Oklahoma City. And it's not just theoretical. It is 3 years ago tomorrow that there was an earthquake on this fault line just south of Lake Arcadia on the northern border of Ward 7. So it has happened here. It is happening. We've had 5 earthquakes in the last 36 hours, including another one next to Cushing, one of the world's most important oil transport storage hubs. And where's the response from anyone? I mean, we haven't even had like a conversation here at City Council about what would happen if what these researchers, maybe I was gone that day. Maybe I missed it.
We actually sent a whole team to FEMA a couple of years ago with that scenario. Councilman Greenwell was there with tens and tens of staff that spent a week simulating a earthquake event in response to it.
That's awesome, and I'd like to hear about it here. I mean, what you guys found, and I'm glad that you guys went to that. But there should be some discussion, I mean, between us and the Corporation Commission, because you had these researchers, and this is the research, by the way, that I think spurred David Boren and Harold Hamm to intimidate Austin Holland and those at the Oklahoma Geologic Society. This was the study in Science Magazine, a peer-reviewed journal, that said that the conclusion was there is a potential hazard to the city of Oklahoma City, to the 30th largest population center in America, that there is a peer-reviewed journal saying there is a risk to the city of Oklahoma City, and the response was for David Boren and Harold Hamm to intimidate Austin Holland and trying to minimize some of the language, which they did, and then the evidence became so obvious that they came out later. But we need to talk about this. We need to have a risk assessment, and then those of us who want to take control of the wheel between mass protest, civil disobedience, town hall meetings, and education of the populace, we need to resist. Thank you.
Councilman McAtee.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Just like to praise Ryan Lurch and the folks at Musgrave Pennington. They had a very creative neighborhood meeting last night that produced positive results and also built up a tremendous camaraderie among the attendees. And then, Jim, if you would, thank Chief City for the police department's efforts on making the SAFE grant information more public. We had another meeting at Windsor Hills Baptist Church this last week on the SAFE grant, and that effort is going on very in a positive direction. And then there's another initiative that the police have started around, and it'll be coming to your area. I know it's coming to Pete's in my area shortly again. Coffee with a Cop, again, encouraging the police department to get out and meet the public at places where the public goes and interact and get to know one another and get on the same wavelength. A very positive program. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I think we're going to have, Ed, I did bring up earthquakes as we had a presentation on the streetcars not too long ago. And I think it's just a matter of incorporating it into each discussion. Each time we have some type of presentation, we'll have you considered what would happen if we did have an earthquake. I mean, it's a slow process, but I think that's how we get more attention focused on it. But my question is, I think we're going to have an introduction or a review of the priorities, council priorities soon.
Well, you established the priorities in the workshop.
Yes.
And now there's a draft that's going, hopefully will be going around to the council for you to wordsmith and get to the final draft.
I would just like to promote a late entry, and it relates to the presentation we had this morning about the Innovation District. I think it would be good if we incorporated or added a new priority of always working to make Oklahoma City a more technology advanced city. We can work how we say that, but when I go to these conferences outside of, on behalf of the city, and meet people from other cities, whether it's Pittsburgh with their autonomous cars driving around. Last week, a manager from our South Bend office and their smart streets and focusing on getting ready for those types of activities. A lot of cities are investing in technology, and Austin, Texas. I mean, if you don't, you're going to be left behind, and businesses are going to take that into consideration, I think more so than what your tax rate is. They want to be in those locations that the citizens are focused on advances in technology and the use of it, and how they can make their cities, quote, smarter cities, how you can assist with traffic control and just a variety of issues. So I think technology needs to be an item that we should consider adding to our priorities. Thank you.
David, to your point, there was an announcement last week that Oklahoma City was selected by the White House as a tech hire hub city, which will help tremendously in funding programming that not just for young people, but to help older workers transition into high-tech jobs. And you mentioned Austin. They were also identified as one, but Dallas, as an example, was not. So it put Oklahoma City in a very unique spot to be able to focus on tech jobs, which I think is exciting. I also just wanted to really thank the staff. Last night there was a review, 2016 downtown review of development mostly. Our staff presented a panel. It was sponsored by the Oklahoman at the Museum of Art, and city manager and Aubrey Hammondtree, planning director Eric Winger was there, Kathy O'Connor was there, Jane Jenkins was there from downtown Oklahoma City. Was a great presentation. And then the second panel was a group of developers who are mostly working in the core, talking about past, present, and future projects. And went on till almost 9 o'clock. So thank you all for being willing to stick around. But the audience, or 250 people at the Art Museum listening to the presentations. I was really, really proud of our staff. Thank you.
On the weekends, I try to read my agenda, and then I also try to look at articles that pertain to Oklahoma City or things that I can learn about Oklahoma City. And this weekend, I ran across a wonderful article from the Washington Times newspaper published Sunday, November 27th. It is entitled, OKC is A-OK. Oklahoma's capital enjoying renaissance of cuisine, craft beer, and its own history. When you print it out, it's a 12-page article. It really is positive about Oklahoma City. It makes you feel good about the city, and it makes you very proud that you live here. Thanks.
All right, thank you. I do have one item under items from council. For the last year or two, the Land Institute has been working on developing a plan as it relates to improving health outcomes in Northeast Oklahoma City. And we have the Land Institute here, and Karen Rydell and Angela Cosby. Can you quickly come up and share with us briefly the status of health in Northeast Oklahoma City?
Quickly?
Quickly.
You saved the best to last, and you say quickly. Yes, I will do. Thank you very much. I'm Karen Waddell. I'm pleased to be here and represent the Land Institute, but most importantly, an exciting celebration and activity that's been happening in Northeast Oklahoma City for really about 2.5 years. 2.5 years ago, the Land Institute Now, we have two organizations. The Lynn Institute's for-profit company does clinical research. You've heard about that. We do lots of clinical trials. We're the largest non-academic center in Oklahoma. The nonprofit does healthy community planning. And in 2013, our board of directors voted to change our purpose to that effect. We spent 2.5 years developing the book that you're being presented right now. It looks like this. This is a 92-page, very extensive review of all of the issues that revolve around the health of Northeast Oklahoma City. Northeast Oklahoma City is a great place. You all know the great history and some wonderful assets we have over there. But when you look at the health outcomes, it's not what we all want it to be. So we worked with wonderful people like Councilman Pettis and Willa Johnson, and 46 different reviewers reviewed the accuracy of this information. So what you have in here is a detailed, very important overview of all of the health and everything that relates. You can't just impact the health by telling people to go to the doctor or to eat better and exercise. It doesn't work. We have to review all of the economic issues, the transportation, the education, the community, the lack of the unemployment or lack of unemployment or underemployment. All of those things are factors to health. Blight, it influences depression. Northeast Oklahoma City has 8 times the utilization of mental health services and twice the suicide rate of Oklahoma County or the state of Oklahoma. But it has some great assets on which to build. But what good is this information? What good is it just another book? And by the way, we use the city information, we use state, we have over 2,000 data resources bases that we used for this. Now, we have this information, but February 29th of 2016, we presented this book, and we convened a wonderful collaborative of leaders of Northeast Oklahoma City, including John Pettis as an honorable member when he can come, and Commissioner
Willa Johnson.
Thank you, Johnson. Willa, she'll hate me for forgetting her name. But Willa wrote the foreword for us, and we collected a wonderful group of 30 leaders. 3 or 4 of them are here with me now. Rita Freeney is the executive director and founder of Sisters in Motion. I think many of you know Dr. Kersey Winfrey, Vice President at St. Anthony's. Valerie McMurray, who represents Director of Health and Wellness for Metro Tech. We have educators, we have bankers, we have funders, we have community leaders, we have citizens, we have churches represented, 30 people coming together once a month since February to develop 5, what I would call fairly audacious, 5 quick goals for 2026, working together what we want to do to build on the wonderful TIF work that you've already just funded. We know we can't lift the economy all by ourselves, but let me assure you that the economy does influence people's ability to improve their health. Our Director of Research and Planning is Angela Cosby, and I'm going to ask her quickly to tell you the 5 areas we want the improvements to be for Northeast Oklahoma City by 2026.
Northeast Oklahoma City will have a population that exhibits strong mental, physical, and emotional lifestyles. Northeast Oklahoma City will have a transportation system which efficiently and affordably helps residents and visitors easily access all the assets and services of Northeast Oklahoma City. Northeast Oklahoma City will have a sustainable economy which encourages and energizes healthy, robust lifestyles. The Northeast Oklahoma City community will have a culture of strong family units and celebrate learning and education. Northeast Oklahoma City is a preferred living destination, featuring safe and beautiful spaces to live, work, and be healthy.
Now, in case you think those are audacious and bold, they are, but we surveyed hundreds of people. We've used lots of qualitative and quantitative data and designed where we believe Northeast Oklahoma City needs to be. Just quickly, because many of you think maybe health outcomes, the fact that we have a higher morbidity rate from almost every disease in Northeast Oklahoma City, and the irony of the fact that it's closest to the greatest health programs and services in the state of Oklahoma is not lost. Dr. Steve Ramirez from Variety Care serves on our panel, as well as Dr. Winfrey, and I've asked Dr. Winfrey to just talk for 1 second, just a minute, about health access.
I really appreciate having audience with all of you. This is a very important project. I'd like to just convey some ideas to you that will hopefully encourage you to read this information. This is not a new problem. It's something we've known for 20 years, at least, and we've not been able to solve or figure out. So the lofty goals that we have, I think, are very appropriate here to create the vision of what where we need to get with this specific area. The other thing I want to mention to you is don't overlook the economic consequences to this. The economic consequences are what creates the self-perpetuating spiral of these poor health outcomes. The poor health outcomes that we've looked at as it relates to education, access to care, food security, and safety and security all can't be overlooked in terms of the economic consequences it's created for this community. And finally, this is not specific to the zip codes that we've looked at. This problem repeats itself all through Oklahoma City. It's just not concentrated the way it is in these zip codes. It's not magnified. That's important because, again, these social determinants, these health indicators really reside in all of our wards in areas where we have constituents. So it's a very important problem. It's very important information. If we don't address this type of information, the health of Oklahoma, as it relates to the areas I mentioned, will continue to deteriorate and suffer, and Oklahoma City is really not exempt from that.
We appreciate your time, and just real quickly, I would tell you that all of these people could talk, and all 30 of our wonderful people that come together are all volunteers, but all experts in their fields and all committed to helping to be a part of solutions. We are now working to set 2-year objectives that will be obtainable and reviewed in 2 years. What we want to do is sustainable change. The Lynn Institute also just recently has completed a project for Crossings Community Clinic, and we looked at 73114, 73120, 73132, and 73162. And I can share with you that those zip codes have some amazing difficult areas. It's important to get the facts, but more important than that is to have a group of people that care enough to come together and try to make change. Councilman Pettis, we appreciate your help on this and your leadership, and thanks to all these people who have helped us and those that couldn't be with us today. It's a great thing to celebrate Northeast Oklahoma City, and that TIF program is going to do nothing but help. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. City manager reports.
Nothing this morning. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? All right. Citizens to be heard. Is there anyone wishing to speak under this item? Citizens to be heard. All right. We will now move into executive session. We will return.